My daughter, Jessica, didn't even put the car in park. She just slowed down in front of the neon sign buzzing in the rain. The Haven Inn, a place where truckers sleep and desperate people hide. She reached across the console, opened the passenger door, and threw my suitcase onto the wet pavement. "Get out, Mom," she said. She didn't look at me. She was checking her makeup in the rearview mirror. "I paid for a week. After that, figure it out. You're not my problem anymore." I stood there in my black funeral dress, the rain soaking through to my skin, watching my only child speed away in the luxury SUV my husband had paid for. She thought she had discarded me like a bag of trash. She thought I was just a confused, helpless old widow with nothing to her name. But she made a mistake, a fatal, arrogance-fueled mistake. She didn't know about the letter my husband, Robert, slipped into my coat pocket 3 hours before he died, and she certainly didn't know about the brass key taped to the back of our wedding photo. This isn't a story about grief. This is a story about what happens when you push a mother too far. I didn't just survive that motel, I bought the building that destroyed her. Before I tell you exactly how I took everything from the daughter who betrayed me, I need to know who is standing with me today. Pause the video right now. Scroll down to the comments and tell me, where are you watching this from, and what time is it there? I want to see how far this story of justice travels. Are you ready? Let's begin. The room smelled like lemon cleaner and stale cigarettes. Room 104. The carpet was a tired shade of brown, worn down in the center where thousands of people had paced back and forth, worrying about money, just like I was supposed to be doing. I sat on the edge of the sagging mattress. My funeral dress was heavy with rainwater. I looked at the peeling wallpaper. 6 days ago, I was Mrs. Martha Hayes. I had a home. I had a husband of 45 years. I had a life. Now, I was a burden. I closed my eyes and replayed the drive over here. The silence in the car had been deafening. Jessica had turned up the radio to drown out my sniffling. "Stop crying, Mom," she had snapped. "Dad is gone. Crying won't bring him back. And honestly, it's time you learned to stand on your own 2 feet. You've been leeching off Dad's hard work for decades." Leeching? I thought. I raised her. I nursed her through chickenpox. I paid for her college tuition by working night shifts at the bakery. I remortgaged our house to help her start her fashion boutique. And this was my repayment? A motel key and a good luck? "The house is going into probate," Jessica had said as she drove. "I'm the executor. I'm selling it. The debts Dad left behind are massive, Mom. You're broke. The boutique is barely making ends meet, so I can't take you in. Jeff and I need our space." Lies. All lies. I knew Robert. Robert was an accountant. He didn't have debts. He had spreadsheets. He had contingency plans for his contingency plans. I reached into my wet coat pocket. My fingers brushed against the envelope Robert had pressed into my hand at the hospice center. His grip was weak, his voice barely a whisper. "Don't show Jessica," he had wheezed. "Open it when you're alone. The blue ledger, box 404. I pulled the envelope out. It was sealed with Scotch tape. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely tear it open. Inside was a single sheet of yellow legal pad paper and a heavy brass key. I unfolded the paper. Robert's handwriting was shaky, erratic. "My dearest Martha, if you are reading this, I am gone, and if you are reading this, Jessica has likely told you that we have no money. She is lying. I found out 6 months ago, Martha. She has been forging my signature. She has been draining our retirement accounts into a shell company. She thinks I didn't notice because I was sick, but I saw every penny. I didn't confront her because I didn't want to break your heart while I was still alive, but I protected you. I moved the remaining assets. I sold the bonds. I liquidated the gold. Go to the First National Bank on 5th Street, box 404. The key is in your hand. The blue ledger inside will prove everything. And Martha, check the deed. I bought her building. I love you. Don't let her win. I stared at the letter. The tears stopped instantly. The sadness in my chest evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard knot of fury. She hadn't just abandoned me, she had stolen from us. She had stolen the comfort of our old age to fund her vacations and her luxury cars, and then she had dumped me in a motel to rot so I wouldn't ask questions about the will. I looked at the brass key. It gleamed under the flickering fluorescent light of the motel room. I stood up. I walked to the bathroom mirror. I looked at the woman reflected there. Gray hair, red eyes, wrinkled skin. I looked like a victim. I splashed cold water on my face. I straightened my blazer. No, I whispered to the empty room. Not today. I didn't sleep that night. I laid awake, clutching the key, listening to the sound of trucks passing on the highway. I made a plan. At 8:55 a.m., I was standing outside the First National Bank. I had walked 3 miles to get there. My feet were blistered, but I didn't feel the pain. The bank manager, Mr. Henderson, recognized me. He looked at my disheveled appearance with concern. "Mrs. Hayes, I heard about Robert. I'm so sorry." "I need to access box 404, I said. My voice was raspy but firm. "Of course. Do you have the key?" I held it up. He led me into the vault. The air was cool and smelled of metal and dust. He slid the long box out of the wall and placed it on the table. He left the room to give me privacy. I opened the lid. Inside, there was a blue leather notebook, the blue ledger, and a thick manila envelope. I opened the ledger first. It was meticulous. Robert had tracked every unauthorized withdrawal Jessica had made. The dates, the amounts, the fake signatures. August 12th, $15,000 withdrawal. Purpose? Medical expenses. Lie, she went to Cabo. September 4th, $22,000 transfer to J Fashion LLC. Forged signature. Page after page. She had stolen nearly $300,000 over 2 years. My heart broke for Robert. He had spent his dying days watching his own daughter rob him blind, silently documenting it to save me. I put the ledger down and picked up the manila envelope. Inside was a cashier's check, $450,000, the last of Robert's secret savings. And beneath the check, a deed of trust. I read the legal jargon carefully. Property address, 1200 Oak Street. Commercial retail space. I gasped. 1200 Oak Street. That was the building where Jessica's boutique, Velvet and Vine, was located. She had always bragged about owning the building. "I'm a mogul, Mom," she'd say. "I own the real estate." But according to this deed, the bank had foreclosed on the previous owner 3 months ago, and a holding company named RH Protection Trust had bought the mortgage note. Robert Hayes Protection Trust. My husband had bought the building my daughter's business was in. And in the lease agreement attached to the deed, there was a clause highlighted in yellow. Landlord reserves the right to terminate lease immediately upon evidence of criminal activity or failure to pay rent for 60 days. I checked the payment log. Jessica hadn't paid rent in 4 months. She was squatting in her own father's building, assuming the anonymous landlord wouldn't notice because she was too busy stealing from his personal accounts. I closed the box. I put the check, the ledger, and the deed into my purse. I walked out of the bank. The sun was shining, but I felt cold. I needed a lawyer. I walked 2 blocks to the office of Mr. Sterling. He was an old friend of Robert's, a shark who specialized in estate law. I didn't have an appointment. I walked past the secretary and into his office. "Martha?" He stood up, shocked. "My God, are you okay? Jessica told me you were resting at a spa facility." "A spa?" I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "A spa," I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "A spa," I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "He dumped me at the Haven Inn, Arthur, and she told me I was penniless." I slammed the blue ledger and deed onto his mahogany desk. "She lied," I said, "and I want to evict her." Arthur Sterling put on his glasses. He read the ledger, he read the deed. His face went from confusion to shock to professional anger. "This is grand larceny, Martha. We can send her to prison." "No," I said. "Prison is too easy. She wants to be a high society businesswoman. She wants to treat people like trash because they don't have money. I want to teach her a lesson she will feel every single day." "What do you want to do?" Arthur asked. "I want to play the game," I said. "Draft the papers, but don't serve them yet. I want to pay her a visit first." I returned to the motel. I paid for another week. I wanted to stay there. It fueled me. Every cockroach I saw, every stain on the carpet reminded me of where my daughter thought I belonged. For 3 days I didn't call her. I waited. On the 4th day I walked to a payphone. I dialed her number. "What?" she answered. She sounded annoyed. "Jessica." I made my voice sound weak, pathetic. I'm hungry. The vending machine is empty. Can you please bring me some food?" Mom, seriously? I'm at a mixer with the Chamber of Commerce. I can't leave." "Please," I begged, "just a sandwich. I'm so dizzy." She sighed, a heavy, dramatic sigh. "Fine, I'll swing by in an hour, but this is the last time, Mom. You need to get a job." An hour later, her white Range Rover pulled into the muddy lot of the Haven Inn. She stepped out, wearing a white cashmere coat and red stilettos, looking like a diamond dropped in a sewer. She walked into my room, holding a greasy paper bag from a fast food drive-thru. She tossed it on the bed. "Here, a cheeseburger. Happy?" She looked around the room with disgust. "God, it smells like mildew in here. How can you live like this?" "It's all I can afford," I said, sitting on the bed watching her, "since Dad left us nothing." "Exactly." She checked her watch. "Look, Mom, I can't stay. I have a business to run. Velvet and Vine is expanding, you know. I'm thinking of opening a second location in Paris." "Paris?" I asked. "With what money?" "My profits, obviously." She lied smoothly. "I'm a self-made woman, Mom. Unlike you. You just rode Dad's coattails." She turned to the door. "Oh, by the way, I'm changing my number tomorrow, so don't call. If you have an emergency, call 911. She opened the door. "Jessica," I said. She stopped. "Do you know who owns your building?" She frowned. "What, some investment firm? Why?" "Just curious," I said. "Make sure you pay the rent this month. I hear they are very strict." She rolled her eyes. "You are losing your mind, old woman. Goodbye." She slammed the door. I waited until I heard her engine fade away. Then I opened the greasy bag. I took a bite of the cold burger. It was the best meal I'd ever tasted, because I knew it was the last time she would ever look down on me. I called Arthur Sterling. "Do it," I said. "Execute the transfer. Transfer the deed into my name, and prepare the eviction notice for Velvet and Vine. I'm going shopping tomorrow." Are you sure, Martha? Arthur asked. Once we do this, there is no going back. She will lose everything. She lost her mother the day she dropped me here. Now she's going to lose the rest. I spent the rest of the night cleaning my funeral dress. I steamed it with the hot water from the shower. I polished my shoes with a napkin. I wasn't going to look like a widow tomorrow. I was going to look like the landlord. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. I took a taxi to 1200 Oak Street. Velvet and Vine was a beautiful store. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows, marble floors, mannequins wearing dresses that cost more than my car. I saw Jessica inside. She was holding a glass of champagne, laughing with two of her wealthy friends. She was pointing at a purse, looking radiant, successful, and completely hollow. I walked in. The little bell above the door jingled. Jessica turned, a smile on her face, expecting a customer. When she saw me, the smile dropped like a stone. "Mom?" She marched over, her heels clicking on the marble. "What are you doing here? I told you not to come here. You look like a beggar." Her friends giggled, covering their mouths. "I'm not begging, Jessica," I said. My voice was loud, clear. "I'm here to inspect the property." "What? You're senile. Get out before I call security." She grabbed my arm to push me. "Don't touch me," I snapped. I pulled my arm away with a strength that surprised her. The door opened behind me. Arthur Sterling walked in, followed by two uniformed police officers and a locksmith. Jessica's face went pale. "What is this? Arthur, why are you here with her?" Arthur adjusted his tie. "I'm here representing the property owner, Jessica." "The owner?" Jessica laughed nervously. "I know the owner. It's a trust." "Yes," Arthur said. "The Robert Hayes Protection Trust, which is now solely administered by his widow, Mrs. Martha Hayes." Arthur pointed at me. Jessica froze. She looked at me. She looked at Arthur. She looked at the police. "No, that's impossible. Dad was broke." "Dad was protecting his assets from a thief," I said, stepping forward. I reached into my purse and pulled out the blue ledger. I slammed it onto a display table, knocking over a stack of silk scarves. "He knew, Jessica. He knew you were stealing. He tracked every penny." Jessica stared at the blue book. She recognized it. I saw the terror fill her eyes. "Mom, please," she stammered, backing away. "I can explain. I was borrowing it. I was going to pay it back." "You haven't paid rent in 4 months," I said coldly, "and per the terms of your lease, which I now hold, you are in default." I turned to the police officer. "Officer, this woman is trespassing on my property. Please remove her." "You can't do this," Jessica screamed. "This is my store. I built this." "You built nothing," I shouted back, finally letting the rage out. "You stole my retirement. You stole your father's legacy, and you left your own mother to rot in a motel room while you drank champagne." "Mom, please." She grabbed my hands, crying now, real tears, panic tears. "I have nowhere to go. My condo is in the company name. My car is leased through the store. If you do this, I lose everything." I looked at her. I looked at the daughter I had loved so much. "You have somewhere to go," I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a plastic key card. "Room 104 at the Haven Inn. I paid for the rest of the week. There's half a cheeseburger on the nightstand." I threw the key card on the floor at her feet. "Get her out," I said to the officers. Jessica screamed as they escorted her out. She kicked and cried, dragging her heels on the marble floor. Her friends watched in horror, then quietly slipped out the back door. The locksmith stepped forward. "Do you want me to change the locks, ma'am?" I looked around the empty store. My store. "Yes," I said. "Change them all." I didn't keep the boutique. I liquidated the inventory and sold the building. I recovered almost all the money Jessica had stolen, but I didn't move back into my old house. Too many ghosts. Instead, I did something crazy. I went back to the Haven Inn. I bought it. I bought the motel that Jessica had dumped me in. I renamed it the Hearth. I gutted the rooms. I tore up the brown carpets. I painted the walls soft yellow and sage green. I hired a new staff, people who needed a second chance. Single moms, Varens, people the world had thrown away. 6 months later, on Christmas Eve, I was standing in the renovated lobby. It smelled of pine and fresh coffee. The bell rang. I looked up. Jessica was standing there. She looked different. She wasn't wearing designer clothes. She was wearing a waitress uniform under a cheap coat. She looked tired, humbled. "Mom?" she whispered. I didn't run to her. I stood behind the counter. "Hello, Jessica." I heard you bought the place," she said, looking around. "It looks nice." "It is," I said. "I'm working at a diner downtown," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm renting a studio apartment. It's small. It has cockroaches." She looked at me, tears welling up. "I know I deserve it. I know I was a monster. I wanted to say I'm sorry, not for the money, but for hurting you." I looked at my daughter. I saw the arrogance was gone, burned away by the reality I had forced her to face. "I forgive you," I said. She sobbed, covering her face. Can I come home? Please, Mom. I'm so tired." I walked around the counter. I stood in front of her. "I forgive you," I repeated, "but you cannot live here." She looked up, confused. "I am not your safety net anymore, Jessica," I said gently. "If I let you back in now, you will never learn. You are doing it. You are surviving. I am proud of you for that." I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a small envelope. "This is not money," I said. "This is a recipe, Grandma's apple pie recipe. You always said you wanted to learn to bake." She took the envelope. She looked at me, realizing that the bank of Mom was closed forever, but the mother was still there. "Come for dinner on Sunday. Bring the pie, but you sleep at your own apartment." She nodded. She wiped her eyes and smiled, a real, sad, grateful smile. "Okay, Mom. See you Sunday." She walked out into the snow. I watched her go. She walked straighter this time. She was struggling, yes, but she was standing on her own 2 feet. I looked around my motel, my sanctuary. My husband left me a key to a box, but he really gave me the key to my own strength. I am Martha Hayes. I was discarded, but I recycled myself into something stronger. And that is my story. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button. I share stories of justice, family, and resilience every week. And I want to know, do you think I was too hard on Jessica, or did she get exactly what she deserved? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, your dignity is the one thing no one can take from you, unless you let them.